Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Music Den. I am, of course, your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a fantastic night and that you're looking after yourselves and each other. Here it is, as I said, Friday night, late in the day for both of us, Bill and myself. We are back again talking about our top five albums of the 1980s. In this episode, we are tackling the year 1986. So, without further ado, I will welcome my friend, Mr. Bill Schuster. How are you doing?
Thank you, Armando. Doing quite well. We're on a roll here. Not to spoil the illusion, folks, but sometimes we might record more than one episode at a time.
Yeah. Who knew? I didn't know, but there you go. Um, yes, we have agreed to do at least one more episode for tonight because we both have lives and we need to get back to them. So, um, again, for this episode, as is the ritual, we have picked five of our top favorite albums for 1986, plus two honorable mentions. So, without further ado, I will again, for the last time tonight, hand over the virtual mic over to Mr. Bill Schuster, and he will give us his number five on his list. There you go. There you go. Always a comedian. There you go.
Well, only the high tech best here, folks. This can't get these special effects from Lucasfilm or anything like that. No.
No,
Mm-mm.
no, that's right. That's right. We're
All
innovative.
right. Oh, you're doing the max headroom, Armando.
It says I'm unstable.
Okay. We're all a little unstable. That's...
There you go. There you go. All
All right.
right.
All right. That's a segue. In 1986, I was quite a bit unstable. I turned 18 in 1986, just to set the context for the musical happenings here. I turned 18. I became homeless because I made some bad choices and my mom kicked me out. I started doing some illicit substances and having bad habits. I dropped out of school and I got de-virginized. It was a very eventful year, 1986. A lot happened. So, and music played a part through all of it. So there's your context, folks. It's 18-year-old me having all sorts of fun and not so fun adventures, but music, constant companion. Even when I was living in a car and had nothing but a staticky AM transistor radio and was listening to those old classic tunes from the 50s and 60s on the local station.
hmm hmm
Those tunes are not making the list. They didn't come out in 86. What does make the list, though, is this cool band. Let me read you the blurb here from the cover. While not particularly sounding like U2 and Simple Minds, Cactus World News had the presence and panache to produce that kind of quality sound, a sheer symphonic volume that separates the men from the boys. Cactus World News put out this album, Urban Beaches, and yeah, they actually had a bit of a U2 connection. Frankly, I don't remember what it is right offhand, so I'm not fully prepared there. I had a brain fart on that, but there's definitely that vibe. They don't sound like U2, but they're kind of in that wheelhouse. And Simple Minds, a Big Country, there's bits and pieces of, you get the general idea. Um, and they are very much in the serious U2 type mode. This is
Okay.
a very serious album in general, both musically and lyrically. There's an excellent singer here. It's a powerful four-man band. Here you see the guys on the back. Um, I believe the single was Worlds Apart. Might have also been The Bridge. I never heard him on the radio. We're starting to get to the point in the late 80s. My Aunt Joy had a family connection, shall we say, who worked in a place where she got lots of cassettes that
hmm
they had there. And the ones she didn't want, I got. This was one of them. I'd never heard of it. She obviously hadn't either, but I listened to it. And this is pretty cool. This is one of those outstanding, obscure, unsung albums that if you at all like the, U2, Simple Minds, Big Country, General Wheelhouse, absolutely seek this out. This is outstanding. Um, yeah, I really I don't know quite how to describe it any more than that. But if you like those kind of bands, it's worth your time and effort to check out Cactus World News, Urban Beaches. Unfortunately, they didn't really do much after this. Years later, kind of a follow up of stuff was released, and I have a weird little radio live album I found in a store a few years back, which was kind of a nice find. But yeah, good stuff.
Okay, that
Find it.
was a good one. I'm gonna look that up actually. Cactus World News.
Mm-hmm. Urban Beaches.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up. And if I get yelled at from buying too many CDs, I blame you.
I
Yeah.
don't even know if it's available on CD, frankly. I had it on cassette originally, and I found the record, like say, a few years back in a local store. It blew my mind that it was there because I'd never seen it anywhere else. So,
hmm hmm
yeah.
No, I'm gonna
I
give it a
mean, for
shot.
all I know, it may be out there and available on CD now. So,
I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna give it a shot. That's a good choice. Um, my number five on the list is from Talk Talk called "The Color of Spring," um, featuring lead vocalist, multi-instrumentalist Mark Hollis, who's no longer with us, unfortunately. Um, this album is a follow-up to their album from, I believe, 1984. I do believe the album is called "It's My Life," featuring the massive lead-off hit single of the same name. This album sees the band going into more of art pop sort of direction, instead of straight pop. Just like I don't want to say avant-garde. They would get into that more in um, later albums. But the lead off single, the main single from this album is "Life's What You Make It," and that piano riff that he does, those piano chords that he does um, at the start of the song. I mean, it's unmistakable, right? For this album, just a quick thing about the album. For this album, Mark Hollis wanted to go into more of an organic direction, no synthesizers. He would use things like mellotrons, a lot of organ and piano, no keyboards whatsoever. Um, the album is produced by Mark Hollis and Tim Freeze Green. Other songs on the album are "I Don't Believe in You," which was a single. "Living in Another World" is another single, also "Give It Up," and the track "April 5th." It's more, again, art pop experimental, but it is good. Um, so that is my number five.
very nice. I actually, just a couple days ago, played Laughing Stock as my bedtime music.
1991. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Cool choice. First time they've been mentioned here. So.
Yeah. No, no. I like to expand things. I'm all about expansion.
Yes, we are. All right. I'm here to expand a certain species on this planet.
And it is.
I'm a mean green mother from outer space, and I'm bad.
Oh
That's
my
right,
God.
folks. It's the Little Shop of Horror soundtrack. This is a badass. We did our show on this and Rocky Horror a few months back. Yeah, this had to be here. This is one of my all-time favorite soundtracks. If you missed that show, you're missing out, folks. Go check it out.
But check it out. Yes, please
We
do.
had a lot of fun with that one. But yeah, you may or may not know the movie. It's brilliant. Uh, Ellen Green, Vincent Gardenia, Rick Moranis, Steve Martin, and so many bits and pieces of everybody else does little guest appearances in here. But the soundtrack is great. It's all specifically written for the movie. and it's largely sung by the actors themselves, which works well. I mean, Ellen is a wonderful singer.
Yeah.
She's not just an act. She's she has a great voice. So
Hmm.
she was in the original play before the film was made. Reprised her role here.
Hmm.
Uh, but even Steve Martin acquits himself well with the hilarious dentist. I keep meaning to ask my own dentist if she's ever seen it and what she thinks about it, if she's offended or amused by it. It's
Hmm.
not very kind to the dental profession. Let's just put it that way. But it is
Hmm.
quite hilarious. There's some very touching songs here, especially sung by Ellen. Somewhere That's Green. That always gets me right in the gut. With its look back to this imaginary 50s fantasy that never really was. And Suddenly Seymour, of course, that was the one that attracted a lot of attention. I remember them on some award show. I don't remember if it was the Grammys, the Oscars, whatever it was, but Ellen was up there singing it. And at that time, I had no idea what the hell it was because I hadn't seen the movie yet. And
Hmm.
what's this Suddenly Seymour nonsense she's singing about? Well, I got it later, and now it's very moving. Uh, and we have, of course, the famous background trio. And here I am whiffing. Where the hell are their names? Oh, here we go. Michelle Weeks, Tachina Arnold, and Tisha Campbell.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah, yeah, they're great. They are the muses of this whole Skid Row world here,
Yeah.
and they do a great job setting the scene everywhere.
Yeah.
They're
Definitely.
not
Yeah.
just in the background; they're part of the entire fabric of the city and the story. And
Yeah.
yeah, this is great fun soundtrack. Absolutely, probably only Rocky Horror to me competes with this for an original soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good choice. I didn't expect that, but it's a good choice.
I had Rocky Horror in '75. I had to have this in
Yeah, of
'86.
course, of course, of course. My number four is XTC with Skylarking. Um, this to me, although they've been releasing albums like The Big Express and Murmur, this to me sort of like reestablished XTC uh, back on the scene. Produced by Todd Rundgren, released through Virgin Records in Canada and Geffen in the US. Um, when uh, okay, when Todd Rundgren was given uh, the songs, the demos, he said to them, "I think we have a concept album here. We can lay out the tracks as to the events that would happen on a summer day, right? So all the tracks are sequenced together, back to back. It starts off with the track Summer's Cauldron, which starts off with like the crickets and chirping birds, and and then it goes into grass, amongst other tracks. The lead off single from this album was Dear God. Okay. Grass was another uh, single from the album. Fantastic musicianship. Uh, the songs are arranged beautifully. The original pressing for this album didn't have Dear God um, in the track listing. It was left off by Andy Partridge, lead singer, due to the fact that he was afraid that um, they would get slapped with, boycotting by religious groups, etc. However, due to the popularity of the video, it was released as a video single. They reinstated it in the track listing for the second pressing, and it took off. It took off. It is a fantastic album. Drama during the recording aside, because according to reports, um, Todd Rundgren would basically ridicule Andy Partridge when you go do a vocal. He'd say to him, I could come in there and sing it better than you can. Do it again. Right. So it got to the point where Andy Partridge didn't want to work with him. He credited Rundgren as being a fantastic arranger, engineer, producer, but they butted heads, and he didn't get support from the rest of the band. Colin Mulder, etc. He did not get support. So it is a fantastic album, sonically amazing, amazing, and it does tell the story of adolescence and all the trials and tribulations you go through as an adolescent, as a teenager. Check it out if you haven't already.
Cool choice. Todd Rundgren gets around, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, he doesn't stay in the woods very long. So no.
Yeah, I dig XTC, but I'm still in my early deep dive discovery with them, so I'm nowhere near an expert on them. But I definitely am well familiar with "Dear God." That was easily their biggest song here in the states. Was yeah.
And it's unfortunate because they have other good um albums to listen to, like None Such, etc., which you would like.
I like what I've heard. I've heard a number of the albums individually, but once or twice I haven't really.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're one of the long projects, one of the many. But yeah, I like what I've heard. So all
Okay.
right,
Cool.
and now for something
Completely
well
different.
a little more conventional than some of our choices, something that's more predictable from me.
Okay.
This is often at or near the bottom of the list for this band amongst many fans. Um, some don't even consider it a proper album by this band, and really, it's kind of not. It wasn't meant to be. It's Seventh Star by Black Sabbath
I knew it.
featuring Tony Iommi.
I knew it.
Here's what Tony thinks about the label asking him to make it a Sabbath album. Really, blokes? Really?
Bloody hell. Yeah. Because
I'm over here shagging Lita Ford, and you're going to tell me that my name's not enough. I have to have Black Sabbath. Huh.
okay. Good enough. Good enough.
All right, maybe Tony didn't say that. I don't know. I'm just assuming. I'm not making any claims.
Stick around for the 9 o'clock episode, folks. He does more. Okay.
Dig that fringe jacket though. Look at Tony was styling here in the 80s. Oh
Oh
my.
God, that was all the rage.
Really though, this album is largely the Glenn Hughes show, even though it's a Tony album.
Yeah.
Glenn Hughes on vocals. This was my introduction to him because I was not really familiar at this point with his previous work with Trapeze, Deep Purple, Hughes Thrall solo albums. Uh, so this was my virgin trip with Glenn Hughes, and it was a damn good one. He sings his ass off on this, and
Mhm.
apparently he was thoroughly messed up throughout the whole thing. He was heavily into substance abuse and bad behavior in general, much like me in 1986. Not quite as bad as Glenn Hughes, though. That's for damn sure.
Mhm.
It's a wonder he's still alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is full of great songs. No Stranger to Love was the single. I think if it wasn't looked at as a Black Sabbath song, if it would have been marketed as, Tony Iommi, they'd have done something a little different with the marketing, with the video, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that fits in well with all the other power ballads that were big hits around that time. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
and Glenn is a better singer than damn near all of those guys that were having hits with the power ballads. So, and he still is. Um, this is it's loaded with great rockers. I love the Eric Singer drums. I've always been a big fan of his drum performance on this album. I mean, he starts right out the gate on In for the Kill, this thundering drums right out. Yeah. And I really dig the closing trilogy. I think of it Heart Like a Wheel, Angry Heart, and In Memory are the three songs that close, and they really segue into each other and kind of tell one long story.
Yeah.
Tony gets into some of his bluesy playing on there. But he's all
Hmm.
over the map here. He's not just the stereotypical, the chunky, heavy Sabbath, the
Yeah, the
riffs.
detuning, the down tuning, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's a lot more all over the map here, which is good because Tony's a lot more than that. He's a
Yeah.
damn good guitar player, and he's generally pigeonholed in a very narrow box, which is an injustice to
Yeah.
Tony, the musician. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's totally different. It's not really a Black Sabbath album, no matter what it says on there, and it doesn't need to be. It's got everything it needs to be right here.
Mhm.
And I'll go on record. You said Ronnie's your favorite Sabbath singer. Glenn Hughes is mine.
You heard it
Even if
here,
it's not
folks.
really a Sabbath album, I think he sings better than any of those guys. To this day,
Ooh.
I'll die on that hill.
Okay, you're lucky you're so far away. Um, that's your opinion. You have a right to have it. All right. That's good.
I'm one of the few I'm willing to bet,
Bloody
especially
hell. All
against
right.
Dio and Ian
All right.
Gillan.
Okay, fine. Yep. Upset. Upset. I love you anyway.
All right. Now, do
Okay.
you have a more controversial pick? Do
What was that?
you have a more controversial pick?
Nope. Well, we'll see. My number three is Van Halen with 5150. Um, First album with Sammy Hagar. Some people call this era the Van Hagar era. I'm gone on record as saying I think that Sammy Hagar has more of a melodic approach when he sings. Um, he's able to come up with melodies vocally that surpass uh, David Lee Roth. I'm sorry, for me, the debut album is the best album from Van Halen of the Roth era. From Van Halen 2, he comes across as Diamond Dave. Hey, hey, we're all here to have a good time, like get to the fucking music. I'm sorry. I think that this album is strong with songs like, it starts off with good, I think it's good enough. Um, when it starts off, hello, baby, it's just it's fun, right? But it's also heavy, Um, Eddie's guitar is fantastic. The lead up single, Why Can't This Be Love? Like, come on. That is just pure pop rock perfection, confection. Okay. It is what it is. Um, the other single, Dreams, another fantastic track. I think that this album did better than I believe it did better in 1984. I'm not sure, but this would started them getting more chart success than they did with the previous apart from 1984, the other David Lee Roth albums. This album 5150 got them, you know, on the road to more chart success. And the fun track, the last track on the album, Inside. So I mean, it is a good album, and it kicks ass when it needs to. With drums, with good guitar parts, and um, this is the first one that they recorded at Eddie Van Halen Studio 5150. So that's my number three.
Yeah, I still call him Van Hagar, and that's not derogatory. It's just that's what we thought it was going to be called at the time. That's what the rumors were before it was ever released, and
Yeah,
it worked. It's a good way to differentiate between those two eras of the band because they're very different bands, really.
yeah,
I mean, obviously, the band themselves, it wasn't just a vocalist change. I mean, they changed their whole sound, really. I mean, Eddie was getting interested in messing around with other things rather than just his old school guitar sounds.
well,
And
that
of course, Sammy brought in a second guitar.
that
So,
was the crux of the whole thing. Just quickly, one of the things that I heard watching videos on YouTube, they were saying that Eddie Van Halen wanted to get into using more keyboards, and Roth kept saying, "All we need," and Ted Templeman was saying, the producer was saying, "All we need is your guitar. We don't need any keyboards." and he wanted to expand, wanted to sort of change the scope of things. And uh, Sammy Hagar, excuse me, allowed him to do that. And vocally, he's a fucking better singer. I'm sorry, like hands down, right? Start your hate mail right now. But I mean, it is what it is. Melodically, he can hit the notes. He can come up with better melodies. I'm sorry, it is what it
And
is.
Hughes is better than both of them on their best day, but no. There's that again.
Moving on. Moving on. Okay.
No, I like both Dave and Sammy. They're very different. They really are apples and potatoes. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, they each brought something distinct to the table, and that's for the better. It's good that they're these essentially two different bands, even though there was only one change in member.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I like both. I think my two favorite songs off this are actually "Love Walks In" and "Dreams," the big power ballady type
Yeah. I
over
love
the
walks.
top
Yeah.
songs. They're
So yeah.
excellent examples of those big radio friendly songs. You know, state of the art 1986 radio rock.
Yeah.
Seemed
And
a great blasting out.
I've always loved Why Can't This Be Love? I just thought it was so different from what they had recorded before, what they had done before with Roth, right? Um, anyways, that's my number three.
All right, we're on a roll again. We once again so far we have not had a shared choice. It's part of the fun, folks, where we're diverging here,
There you go.
expanding, and we hope you'll do the same in the comments. See what kind of weird stuff you got to compete with our weird stuff and our
That's
not so
right.
weird stuff.
That's right.
Uh, all right, this was another one of those. My number two and number one. It was a difficult choice deciding which one was going to win. It's a very tight hair at best. Uh, but my number one is, or my number two, excuse me, is the debut album from one who went on to become probably my favorite modern band of the late 80s through the mid 90s. It's the debut from Concrete Blonde.
Oh, Jeanette
This,
Napolitano. Okay, I got you.
yes, yes, Johnette Napolitano. Oh my God.
Son of a.
We'll get into that in a later episode. Ay, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I had a little crush on Johnette. Yeah.
Okay, it's
Um,
a family show, folks. Never
that's
mind, we
right.
won't go there. Okay. Yeah.
This is another one of those I'd mentioned. You know, my Aunt Joy had access to lots of cassettes that were left over from, and this is one of the ones she gave me. I originally had the first few. This one, like a year or two after it came out, but well before their second album did. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I got the second album as soon as it came out, and everyone from there on out. But this one, I had never heard of them, didn't have a clue. I'd never heard anything on the radio, so I just played the cassette, and I was instantly caught up by the first song, "True." It's just a beautiful, straightforward kind of song. So if I had the choice, I'd take the voice I got because it was hard to find. It just Johnette's vocals just really took me away. They still can to this day. She just has a strong, smoky voice. She can
Yeah.
rock. She can. Uh, this song's I remember a review at the time really pissed me off, and it still does. It's in one of the books I have. It's probably an old Rolling Stone record guide, one of those damn things that always irritates me because the
Hmm.
critics think they're so superior to so many things, and that's another episode entirely. We'll have to do one of those maybe. But
Yeah. No.
the review of this said Johnette wants to be somebody. It doesn't matter who it is, as long as it's somebody. Just talking about all the lack of a narrow focus. That criticism in particular always irritates the hell out of me because I love bands and artists who are not afraid to expand their sound and try different things.
Yeah.
That's not weakness, that's a strength. So this critic was criticizing one of the things I love about this album. So screw that critic. I don't even remember your name.
Yeah.
But if I remember it, get off my lawn, critic.
Oh, Yeah.
All right.
If I remember it, I'll tell you what it is. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, it's full of a nice balance. It's got rockers, ballads, kind of keyboard, new wavy type songs. It's got kind of a gothic vibe. At this point, they were a trio as they were through most of their history. It was always Johnette herself and James Mankey on
Yeah.
guitar, who is very important to the sound. His guitar is, I've said he's a top five guitarist at some points in time over my life. I absolutely love his very distinct sound.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, they were a perfect match for each other.
Yeah.
Even though Johnette wrote and sang all the songs, yeah, they were both required to be there. Harry Rushkoff was the original drummer. On the third album, he got replaced by Paul Thompson from Roxy Music, and then they kind of went back and forth between the two, and it got to be a confusing mess. But it's always Johnette and Jim. That's the key to Concrete Blonde. That's what
Hmm.
makes them. You'll be seeing more of them. Spoiler: I love this band,
I know you
but this
do.
is where it all started and started my love affair. So,
I know you love that band. I can tell.
oh yeah, and
And
just a little bit of trivia note: they got their name from Michael Stipe from REM, their IRS label mate. He suggested they were called Dream Six originally. They'd put out an EP, and
that's
he
right.
suggested the name Concrete Blonde. So,
That's right. That's right. And just to expand very quickly on what you said about now critics not wanting bands to expand their their musical output. What you're talking about is maturity of artistry. And what is wrong with that? Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we're not, I mean, you're talking, okay, it's like taking a band like, say, AC/DC. You are, okay, and I'm not knocking AC/DC, guys, please. I am not. But with AC/DC, you know what you're going to get meat and
yes,
potatoes, balls to the wall, rock. You know what I mean? Have a drink on
all
me,
there is.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, How's Bells? Highway to Hell. You know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get heavy drums, you're gonna get heavy rhythm guitar, and you're gonna get a solo from Angus Young. It's there. It's meat and potatoes, right? It's standard. They're so far ensconced in their career that that's what they do. There are bands that want to sort of expand and do a different, add to their musical palette, let's say, right? What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. So, to those critics who, who crap on that, well, crap on you. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. So, um,
I mean, imagine telling the Beatles or Queen, oh, you don't know who you want to be. Maybe you should focus on a narrow sound and decide who you want to be. That's insane.
I wouldn't even go there. I would not
Some
even.
critics are too far up their own asses. It's as simple as that.
Yep, yep. And as far as I know, no one's ever gone to school and got a degree to be a music critic.
No.
So you know what I mean?
That's not to say there are no good music critics,
No.
but there are definitely some bad ones, and they're in some of the books I have. I'm going to grab a few quotes for some later editions that
There
I
you
didn't
go.
do
There you
that
go. No, I
previously.
think we should
Some
do
of them
that.
are just entertainment value.
I think we should do that. I think we should do that. Okay, no, that's a good choice. We must carry on. My number two hmm, is Peter Gabriel with Soap. Um, this is considered to be Peter Gabriel at his commercial best, at his zenith commercially. Um, the tracks Sledgehammer, Big Time were played at a nauseum uh, on music television in Canada and in the US to the point where P. Gabriel, I heard, had literally requested that those videos be taken off of heavy rotation because and they were played at like every half hour on the hour. or every half hour and a half hour. I'm sorry. It's been a long day, guys, but it's true. I mean, and it is a good album. I mean, songs like, again, Sledgehammer, Big Time, Red Rain, Don't Give Up, In Your Eyes, Mercy Street, all fantastic tracks. Um, and it's no wonder that when he released his follow-up material, he tried to get away from that commercial apex that he had achieved. It is a good album, produced by him and Daniel Lanois. Uh, and you could not get away from this album in '86. The duet he did with Kate Bush, who also was coming out of the new album, by the way, apparently, Kate Bush. Um, I thought I'd sneak that in there. That video again with them, spinning around, holding each other on the turntable. You know what I mean? Like that was all over radio and TV music channels. So I mean, you couldn't get away from it. So that's why it's my number two.
Overall, I dug the singles from that album, but it blew my mind that people looked at Sledgehammer as like this commercial sellout thing, this obvious hit, because to me, it never sounded like a hit. When it hit number one, I didn't get it. I mean, I liked the song well enough, but still to this day, that doesn't sound like an obvious, oh, yeah, this is obviously a blockbuster single.
Hmm.
I would have never pegged it for that.
Hmm.
But what do I know?
Oh,
Obviously, it was huge.
yeah,
So,
no, it was massive. And
yeah.
he wanted to go the other way. I mean, he just like, you know what? And please take it off rotation for now. It's being played too much. You're oversaturating the airwaves with these videos. And he's talking about his own music, for God's sake. If what I've heard is true, that is what he requested. So
If they would have had a sense of humor, they would have replaced it with old videos of him singing Supper's Ready in a flower costume.
yeah,
Then he
a
would have said,
flower.
not like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I know.
All right. I had to throw that one in there.
No, it's true. It's true.
That would have definitely brought out Pete the Curmudgeon.
Yeah. True enough.
All right. My number one, this is the only thing that could have beat that Concrete Blonde debut in this year. You see the shirt, people. Come on.
Mhm.
One time, this was my favorite album by Joe Jackson. It's Big World. It's a three-sided album. I mean, literally, there's two records in here. One side is blank. There's 15 songs. The three single-ish radio tracks were Right and Wrong, which was a very dead-on, funny critique of U.S. President Ronald
Yes.
Reagan and his
Yes.
ability to be a puppet master for the public on the TV and manipulate opinions using his particular videogenic, charismatic qualities, so to speak. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of that guy, but I am a Joe fan. So this song hit me perfectly when it came out, of
Okay.
course. But yeah, and also the other two songs that got played on the radio were the Jet Set, which is kind of a mockery of the ugly American tourist, essentially. And
Hmm.
this really is a pretty place, but I'm happy I don't live here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, what's the matter with the waiter's face? Can you say it in English? We're the jet set, get out of our way. Yeah, those arrows hit the mark pretty good there with Joe's
Hmm.
lyrics. And Hometown is the other of the three songs that got the radio play, and that's just a really heartfelt song about, well, wanting to sometimes go back to your hometown, whatever that hometown may be. It doesn't even have to literally be the town you're from.
Yeah.
It just seems the place you call home.
Yeah. Home is where the heart is.
Yeah. Now, this has a contender for my favorite song by Joe. I mean, there's a lot of contenders, but Shanghai Sky is high on the list. It's one of his most gorgeous melodies. It starts out with a simple, beautiful, almost classical piano bit, and slowly leads into the vocals and just a lovely lyric. Strange how the world passed us by. Yeah. Or the world got so small. Excuse me. Yeah. I'd highly recommend if you haven't heard anything from this and you want just a lovely piano ballad, go check out Shanghai Sky. And there's 40 years, which was at that time a callback to the Allied forces from World War II. And of course, this is in the midst of the Cold War.
Mhm.
And it's a kind of a lament about how, back then we were allies. We laughed and drank, we danced and sang. But that was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm getting kind of choked up on this one still because that message, again, like so many others, is still valid today.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than 40 years. We're almost 80 years ago now. It's been almost as long since this album came out as it was
Yeah.
from when this album came out back to the end of World War II.
I get
And
it.
here we
Yeah.
are, still goddamn Cold War shit still going on. Excuse my French. But it pisses me off, folks. Sorry.
Yeah.
We should be better than this.
Yeah.
As
No,
humans,
I know.
we need to get past it. And yeah, Joe's been talking about it forever among so many other people. Maybe someday people will actually listen and figure it out. But yeah, this is a great album. It was recorded live in front of an audience that was asked to keep quiet until after the songs were done, to hold your applause, and it's interesting. So technically, it's a live album of all new material with a quiet audience, but
Yeah.
in addition to being a weird three-sided album, so this has all kinds of little oddities. And of course, you have the title "Big World" in various languages here on the cover.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. This is still may not be my favorite, but it's one of my favorite Joe Jackson albums still.
That's a
Yeah.
good choice. My number one um, is Genesis with Invisible Touch. Um, a lot has been said about this album by diehard prog fans, like, oh, they effing sold out. Da, da, da. You know what? They had a number one hit with this album. You know, 8 tracks. All of side one were released as singles. So you had the title track, Tonight, 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 Land of Confusion. Um, you know, no, the last track is In Too Deep. Sorry, is the last track on side one. Side two, you had Everything She Does, or Anything She Does. Sorry. You had The Last Domino, In the Glow of the Night, and The Last Domino, the two-parter. You had Throwing It All Away, and then you had the Brazilian, the instrumental. Yes, this reeks and smacks of 80s production and engineering techniques. But you know what? A hit song is a hit song. And with this album, they knocked it out of the park. Okay. You cannot deny that with this album, Genesis had arrived on the American charts. So one and only number one album. They still had what was considered, what I would consider to be their progressive leanings with The Last Domino because of the two-parter. I've always loved that song. I will always love that song. It is what it is, okay? My one gripe is that out of the 8 tracks, sorry, 6 of them were singles. So for me, it's a little bit of overkill, but it's still a good album. Okay, produced and engineered by Hugh Padgham and the band. Um, they toured for basically a year, almost a year with this album. Um, it is a hit, and is a hit for a reason. Um, so that is my number one. Make no bones about it. Genesis, Invisible Touch.
It's not my favorite Genesis album, but I do enjoy it. That's again, and it's where they evolved to, and it's not just let's not blame Phil. People like to be lazy critics and say, "Oh yeah, this Phil did this." No, Phil didn't.
Yeah,
Tony and Mike were very willing and very much a part of it all, and were right there in the writing and the direction of the band. They were a band,
yeah,
not Phil Collins and friends. So
exactly.
let's
And
take that load off Phil's shoulders.
exactly. And Phil Collins has said that out of the three of them as writers, Tony Banks is the strongest force
Yeah.
in terms of the three, in terms of the creative ideas, with Mike Rutherford as a second, close second, and Collins as a third. Um, people, this is my question to you and to others out there. Why do people crap on bands who achieve popular status or achieve number one albums? Why is that?
It sounds like a whole other show again.
We're coming up
Sometimes,
with a lot of show ideas tonight,
oh,
guys.
I don't know. My first thought is if people are fans of a band before they get big, sometimes it feels like something special is lost when your band becomes everybody's band. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there
That
is
that
that feeling of
connection's
it.
not
Yeah.
quite there anymore. Like you don't want to share. Like, well, that was my thing. What are you guys doing? Where were you at when, you know?
Yeah, and but I mean, all bands, and this is a quote from Freddie Mercury, all bands want to be famous. For someone to say that, for a band to say, no, no, it's all about the musical integrity, it's all about the music, as he put it, load of shit, load of no, load of rubbish. It's a load of rubbish. Every artist wants to be successful. Do you know what I mean? Like, I, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But anyway, again, that is my number one. So.
All right. Okay. Honorable mentions. I'll go for the only one I don't have a prop for first. Um, it is. Okay, I don't need to see it. I know what it is. It's the third album by this band in 3 years here that have made somewhere my honorables or my main list. It's REM again with Life's Rich Pageant.
Oh,
The single that got played on the radio was "Fall on Me," and that's just a lovely song
yeah,
with a
yeah.
sweet, simple message. But really, the whole album is strong. It starts out with some rockers begin, and these days that's a really strong rocker. But one of my favorites on the album is Cuyahoga.
Mhm.
I love the way Michael sings the Cuyahoga, we need skin, did you and me? We need skin that river red. Yeah, talking about the Cuyahoga River, obviously in
Mhm.
Ohio,
Mhm.
the one that caught on fire once upon a time.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. This was their last album before Document came out, and they had a top 10 single with the one I love. So this
Yeah,
was really kind of their last album as a popular cult band before they took that first big step into the mainstream.
yeah. I remember that. Life's Rich Pageant. Mm.
So it's kind of the end of an era in a way. As an REM listener, it's they lost a bit of innocence on the following album. It's still good stuff, but it was a bit of a different vibe. So again, there's that thing again. They got the popularity. It's what we were just talking about. I mean,
That's right.
I don't begrudge them their popularity at all, and yet this is still my favorite era for REM. So
Mm.
make what you will of that. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's a damn good album.
Well, yeah. No, I agree. I mean, let me put it this way. I mean, just to expand on that very quickly, I love Queen. Everyone knows it. Tattoos on my arm, whatever. I love Queen, right? Um, do I feel that the 70s output is better than the 80s to an extent? Yes, I do, to a large extent. Am I going to get upset with them because they wanted to go off and do something different? No, it's what they want to do or what they wanted to do. Who am I as anyone to say no, you can't do that? Like please. You know, so that's where I'm coming from, right? No, and that's a good choice. It's a good choice. I do remember Left Switch Pageant. I do remember that one. My God. Shit, I'm old. Okay, my first honorable mention is Liberace with Diamonds, Diamonds, Diamonds. No, no, no. It's yeah, no, it's
The
Boston.
original Piano Man.
Yeah, the original Piano Man. I wish my brother George was here. Okay. It's Boston with Third Stage. Um, again, bloody hell. Tom Schultz and his 8 year break between Don't Look Back and Third Stage. They're signed to MCA at this point. Feature, it had the hit Amanda, which I love as a quote unquote power ballad, whatever. Um, the instrumental, the launch, which comes right after Amanda. That's about it, really, for this album. You know what I mean? Um, I think the momentum by this point for the band was gone for some reason. And for me, it's probably because Tom Schultz and his um just willingness to stall. You know, it's like Axl Rose with Chinese Democracy. No album is worth waiting for like over 10 years. I'm sorry. It's an album. It's confection. It's art. It's got integrity musically, but overall, it's an album. People will listen to it, they will like it, they will move on. You know what I mean? I think that for this album, that their whatever validity they wanted to present musically was gone by this point. And it just it's an okay album, but Amanda's the biggest hit on the album, I believe. And that's about it. So yeah, that's my first honorable mention.
That's time when that came out, and my group of friends, we were just shocked and excited to actually have a new Boston album. Just the fact that it existed at all was kind of mind blowing. It had been so long. I mean, in '78, I was 10 years old, not paying attention.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention to music yet. By
Yeah,
'86, I was fully invested in music and had
of
been
course.
hearing those first two albums, ad infinitum, and was ready for more. And I was digging. There was a lot. Cool the Engines got played on the radio a lot. Can't You Say got played a lot. I know there's. I'm whiffing on at least one more besides those and Amanda. But this album got a lot of play. I do think it's the third best Boston album. After this, I lost all interest. Those
Mhm.
first three are really all I need.
Okay. Yeah.
Put it bluntly, I don't care
Well,
about
I
anything.
just, the saying, how can I put it? I just think Tom Schultz needed to get out of his own way. Like the only person that was stopping him from releasing an album before 86 was Tom Schultz, So, I mean, yeah. Okay.
It was a good album, but not 8 years in the making good. So
Yeah.
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 All right. Um, well, let's see. My final honorable. I had a different one in here earlier, but I decided to switch back because they were neck and neck, and I'd already mentioned Metallica previously with Ride the Lightning. I had Master of Puppets, but it got the boot in favor of a better metal band and my favorite album by them. It's Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time.
Oh,
And yes, I did say Iron Maiden is a better metal band than Metallica. They're just a better band all around than Metallica. Straight up.
he said it, folks, not me. Don't get mad at me.
And look at that cover. Come on. How badass is Eddie? Eddie of
Mhm.
the future. He looks kind of like Deathlock from Marvel Comics there.
Yeah.
Uh, if those of you obscure comic fans are familiar with that reference, probably not most.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No, I know. That's a right. Yeah.
Yeah, at the back too. This is one of those great album covers that has all the details. You got to have the record so you can actually read it. Good luck on a CD or God forbid the cassette that I dealt with back in the 80s. Yeah, that's
I have
I
that
used
too.
the cassette.
No, I have the CD. I went
Okay,
out one day and I bought all like a stack of Iron Maiden albums. So yeah, I've got that too. It's good.
the Mountain of Maiden. Yeah, this I
Yay
really dig
high.
this song. The loneliness of the long distance runner has always been my favorite on here. I mean, I really used to carry a jam box with me and go jogging through Denver, listening to side two here. Started off with the loneliness of the long distance runner.
Yeah.
This dorky 18-year-old kid jogging through, a cigarette in one hand, jam box in the other, and kind of defeating the purpose of jogging by smoking two, whatever. And
I know. I
it was
know.
a year of bad choices for me, so
Oh,
this
bloody
album
hell.
was not one of those bad choices. This was a good choice. It still
Yeah.
holds up. I like the what little synth guitar sounds they have on here. I think they're minimal. It gets over
Overblown.
emphasized.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Overblown.
really. People criticize it for that, but no, it's barely there. Really, I mean, it's just there for effect, and it's a nice effect. It adds to their sound palette. Of course, as usual, produced, engineered, and mixed by Mr. Martin Birch. It was pretty much part of the team there.
Yeah. Who unfortunately is no longer with us.
Yeah, yeah, he's been involved. He was involved with many outstanding legendary albums. This is just one of the many.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's my yeah first time. Not the first time for you, but the first time I've mentioned Iron Maiden. So I had to do it.
No, it's
Master of the
fine.
Puppets got the boot somewhere in time. In for the win.
It's fine. It's fine. Good choice. My last honorable mention, guys, is wait for it. Queen, kind of magic.
Nice.
Um, what to say about this album? Eh, This, I like the album. Is it strong in this format? No. Um, 9 tracks, 8 of the tracks are featured in the movie Highlander. The lead off track, One Vision, is featured in the movie Iron Eagle. There's 2 versions to this album. There's this commercial version that was released under the name of A Kind of Magic. There is also the Highlander soundtrack that either is available in some foreign country and like in some uh, flea market somewhere that you can find. Um, that version contains the tracks that were written for the film. Um, I think that it's stronger than the A Kind of Magic version, than the commercially released version. For example, A Kind of Magic in the movie version, the track is written in 6/8 time, and there's more guitar. It's a heavier version. Um, Who Wants to Live Forever? First of all, the singles from the album were uh, One Vision, A Kind of Magic, Who Wants to Live Forever, and Princess of the Universe. In this form that they were, released commercially, it didn't work. It reached number 54 in the US charts. Capitol at this point gave up on the band to the point that when Jim Beach, their manager, approached Capitol about purchasing the rights to the catalog to go somewhere else, they all but threw the master tapes in his face and said, "Take them, we don't want them anymore." Okay. If this album had been released in the original soundtrack version that you heard in the film, this would have been a much better album. Would have been a heavier album, would have been more melodic, and it would have been more sense. And in the film, the track Who Wants to Live Forever, Freddie Mercury is featured on all verses of the track, as opposed to Brian May singing the intro verse and Freddie Mercury doing the rest. I love Queen. I like this album. Is it their best? In this version? No, it isn't. Even songs like, Don't Lose Your Head, featuring incidental vocals by Joan Armatrading. I like that too. But you know what? The film version of this soundtrack is the much more superior version to the album. And I digress. So, I mean, that is my last honorable mention.
I'm a fan of this album overall. I loved the film when it came out. I still like it. Some parts of it haven't aged necessarily well, but there's still the use of "Who Wants to Live Forever" in particular is absolutely brutal. And if you know the movie, you know the scene where
Yeah,
that plays, and
yeah,
that's gut wrenching. Uh,
yeah.
and ever since then, "Who Wants to Live Forever" is really that settled it in me, and it's just such a powerful song. And I do prefer the version with Brian singing part of it. I like that mix of the two vocals.
Okay. So let me ask you then quickly, why do you think that the album did not fare well in North America?
That's a good question. I know One Vision got a lot of play on the rock station in Colorado where it was then. Uh, it seemed like a very successful single, but that wasn't on the pop charts. That was on the rock stations, which is a whole different animal, obviously.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, like you said, Capitol was pretty well kind of done. So maybe it was the promotion aspect. I don't remember any of the other songs being singles. I clearly remember the movie and the soundtrack and all the songs being used in the movie, but I don't remember hearing them on the radio.
Yeah, the singles that were released in North America were kind of in North America alone were kind of magic and um Princess of the Universe. Who Wants to Live Forever was released in Europe and the UK only. So fans here really didn't hear it that much. If you bought the album, you could hear it, obviously. But I don't know. I like the album. I'll listen to it, but it's not as strong as other albums, as say The Works.
Yeah, really. Who Wants to Live Forever is probably the only one I'd put amongst my top Queen songs. That's a guaranteed top 10 there for me. But
Well, yeah, I mean,
the rest are good to okay, pretty solid. One Vision's a pretty strong single. I thought that was a good, strong rocker. And I'm still always amused by the way Freddie ended it.
with
Give me fried chicken. Where the hell did that come from?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was just him screwing around in the studio, right? But
And
I
it
mean,
worked. It was just,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, yeah, even the the lyric that he starts off with, "There's no chance for us. It's all decided for us." It's like, what? Like, what the hell am I listening to?
yeah, I really think the Queen music elevated the movie Highlander
Yeah,
big
yeah,
time, just like they elevated Flash Gordon.
yeah. Well, the story goes is that Russell Mulcahy, who directed the film, brought them in because he just wanted them to do one song. They saw the footage and they're like, we'll do the soundtrack. Like, we want to do this. So he's like, okay, I'll do it. Like, let's do it.
Good call.
And and yeah, it's like to me, Who Wants to Live Forever is kind of like 39, where it's like the story of um 39 is about time, time travel and coming back, and you haven't aged, but the people around you have aged and have passed away, and you're left alone with to live your life, right? With the ghost of their memories and stuff. That's kind of like what Who Wants to Live Forever is in terms of the storyline of Highlander. And for those of you who know the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Where this character, spoiler alert, this character, the Highlander, cannot die. And anyone he gets involved with, that is mortal, obviously will age and eventually pass away. Whereas he's left to go on through the centuries on his own, very lonely, you know.
Yeah, that's just such a devastating concept. I don't know. That was just been a pretty deep,
I know.
disturbing thought. Just imagine who would want to be immortal with dealing with stuff like that. I don't know. That's a whole different subject again. We can do
That's
that.
another show topic. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Well, there you go, guys. Our top five albums of 1986. Oh my God, it's been a long, long haul doing these videos. We have done, how many have we done? Four in
We
the
did
can.
four tonight. Yes.
We've done four. We have four in the can. We will be back soon to finish off the 80s, and we're going to take a bit of a break and do other topics and other videos. And then we're going to come back with top five albums of the 90s and the 2000s. But you know what? These are fun. So,
Yeah.
for all of you out there, put down there, down in the comments below, down there, what your top five albums of 1986 are. Okay? Top five, top two, top three, top 10, didn't matter. And a couple of honorable mentions. Can never say that phrase. Honorable mentions. And again, guys, there are no right or wrong answers. It's just opinion. We're just having fun with this. Like Bill said in previous episodes, we're not experts. We're just two friends having fun, trying to come up with ideas to do shows. And we hope that you guys enjoy what we're doing. So, do you have anything to add, Bill?
No, I just say, yeah, you want to put your stuff in the comments. I'd say if you think your choices are too weird, too off of what these shows normally go for, nah, put them down there. Show us what you got. Give us some unusual stuff that doesn't get talked about enough. Give us some stuff to think about, to listen to. What would you recommend from these years for people to listen to?
That's right.
Yeah.
And what we talked about quickly before we go, what we talked about before we started taping this episode was that our choices for the 80s have been so diverse.
Mhm.
You know, we've kind of like in the 70s, we were going down the same path to an extent. For the 80s, I've gone off to the right, Bill's gone off to the left, and God forbid, you know, heaven help us if we don't meet up in the middle, kind of a thing. But that's the good thing about it. That's what we like. That's what makes it unique and special and fun.
Wait till the 90s get here.
Oh my God, yeah.
The map's going
So
to expand there.
there you go. There you go. And the 2000s.
Mhm.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you have a good night and please look after yourselves and one another. I'm Armando Venditti for Mr. Bill Schuster. We will see you soon with another video as he lifts his coffee cup. At least I hope that's coffee.
It is.
It is. Okay. And we will see you soon with another video. Again, look after yourselves and one another, and we'll talk soon. Bye.